Okay, so the next thing that I would like to read or introduce is I wanted to read the Majjhima 82. It's a Ratthapala Sutta, and I think it's a great sutta to kind of addressing, why do we practice, why do we go forth, and it's got a good storyline in it as well. So. Okay. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering into Kuru country with a large sangha of bhikkhus, and eventually he arrived at a Kuru town named Tulakotita. The Brahman householders of Tulakotita heard. The recluse Gotama, the son of the Sakyans who went forth from a Sakyan clan, has been wandering in the Kuru country with a large sangha of bhikkhus and has come to Tulakotita. Now a good report of Master Gotama has been spread to this effect: that Blessed One is accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. He declares this world with its gods, its maras and its brahmas, this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its princes and its people, which he has himself realized with direct knowledge. He teaches the Dhamma, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and he reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Now, it is good to see such arahants. Then the Brahman householders of Tulakotita went to the Blessed One. Some paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some exchanged greetings with him, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, sat down at one side. Some extended their hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some pronounced their name and clan in the Blessed One's presence and sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. When they were seated, the Blessed One instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened them with a talk on the Dhamma. Now at that time, a clansman named Ratthapala, the son of the leading clan in that same Tulakotita, was sitting in the assembly. Then it occurred to him, as I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, it is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure, as a polished shell. Suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Then the Brahman householders of Tulakotita, having been instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened by the Blessed One with talk on the Dhamma, delighted and rejoiced in his words. They then rose from their seats, and after paying homage to him, they departed, keeping him on their right. Soon after they had gone, the clansman Ratthapala went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and said to the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, as I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, it is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure as a polished shell. Venerable Sir, I wish to shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. I would receive the going forth under the Blessed One. I would receive the full admission. Have you been permitted by your parents, Ratthapala, to go forth from the home life into homelessness? No, Venerable Sir, I have not been permitted by my parents. Ratthapala, Tathagatas do not give the going forth to anyone who does not have his parents' permission. Venerable Sir, I shall see to it that my parents permit me to go forth from the home life into homelessness. Then the clansman Ratthapala rose from his seat and after paying homage to the Blessed One, he departed, keeping him on his right. He went to his parents and told them, "Mother and father, as I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, it is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure, as a polished shell. I wish to shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Give me permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness." When he had said this, his parents replied, "Dear Ratthapala, you are our only son, dear and beloved. You have been raised in comfort, brought up in comfort. You know nothing of suffering, dear Ratthapala. Even in case of your death, we would lose you unwillingly. So how could we give you our permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" For the second time, for the third time, the clansman Ratthapala said to his parents, "Mother and father, give me permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness." For the third time, his parents replied, "Dear Ratthapala, how could we give you our permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" Then, not receiving his parents' permission to go forth, the clansman Ratthapala lay down there on the bare floor, saying, "Right here I shall either die or receive the going forth." Then the clansman Ratthapala's parents said to him, "Dear Ratthapala, you are our only son, dear and beloved. You have been raised in comfort, brought up in comfort. You know nothing of suffering, dear Ratthapala. Get up, dear Ratthapala. Eat, drink, and amuse yourself. While eating, drinking, and amusing yourself, you can be happy, enjoying sensual pleasures and making merit. We do not permit you to go forth from the home life into homelessness. Even in the case of your death, we would lose you unwillingly. Even in the case of your death, so how could we give you our permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" When this was said, the clansman Ratthapala was silent. For the second time, for the third time, his parents said to him, "Dear Ratthapala, how could we give you our permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" For the third time, the clansman Ratthapala was silent. Then the clansman Ratthapala's parents went to his friends and said to them, "Dears, the clansman Ratthapala has lain down on the bare floor, having said, 'Right here I shall either die or receive the going forth.' Come, dears, go to the clansman Ratthapala and say to him, 'Friend Ratthapala, you are your parents' only son. Get up, friend Ratthapala, eat, drink, and amuse yourself.' How could your parents give you their permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" Then the clansman Ratthapala's friends went to him and said, "Friend Ratthapala, you are your parents' only son, dear and beloved. You have been raised in comfort, brought up in comfort. You know nothing of suffering. Friend Ratthapala, get up, friend Ratthapala. Eat, drink, and amuse yourself. While eating, drinking, and amusing yourself, you can be happy, enjoying sensual pleasures and making merit. Your parents do not permit you to go forth from the home life into homelessness. Even in case of your death, they would lose you unwillingly. So how could they give you their permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness while you are still living?" When this was said, the clansman Ratthapala was silent. For the second time, for the third time, his friends beseeched him. For the third time, the clansman Ratthapala was silent. Then the clansman Ratthapala's friends went to his parents and said to them, "Mother and father, the clansman Ratthapala is lying down there on the bare floor, having said, 'Right here I shall either die or receive the going forth.' Now, if you do not give him your permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness, he will die there. But if you give him your permission, you will see him after he has gone forth. And if he does not enjoy the going forth, what else can he do then but return here? So give him your permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness. Then, dears, we give the clansman Ratthapala permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness. But when he has gone forth, he must visit his parents. Then the clansman Ratthapala's friends went to him and told him, "Get up, friend Ratthapala, your parents permit you to go forth from the home life into homelessness. But when you have gone forth, you must visit your parents." The clansman Ratthapala then got up, and when he had regained his strength, he went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told him, "Venerable Sir, I have my parents' permission to go forth from the home life into homelessness. Let the Blessed One give me the going forth." Then the clansman Ratthapala received the going forth under the Blessed One, and he received the full admission. Then, not long after the Venerable Ratthapala had received the full admission, a half-month after he had received the full admission, the Blessed One, having stayed at Tulakotita as long as he chose, set out to wander towards Savatthi. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Savatthi, and there he lived at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Before long, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent, and resolute, the Venerable Ratthapala, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, here and now entered upon and abided in that supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the home life into homelessness. He directly knew. Birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. And the Venerable Ratthapala became one of the Arahants. Then the Venerable Ratthapala went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told him, "Venerable Sir, I wish to visit my parents, if I have the Blessed One's permission." Then the Blessed One penetrated mentally the thoughts in Venerable Ratthapala's mind. When he knew that the clansman Ratthapala was incapable of abandoning the training and returning to the low life, he told him, "You may go, Ratthapala, at your own convenience." In the commentaries, when it says, then not long after the Venerable Ratthapala had received the full admission, he realized arahantship. It was 15 years, so it was. It's not a long time.
Not very long.
Not very long. Yeah, not very long in samsara. Yeah. Then the Venerable Ratthapala rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, he departed, keeping him on his right. He then set his resting place in order, and taking his bowl and outer robe, set out to wander towards Tulakotita. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Tulakotita. There he lived in Tulakotita in King Koravya's Migachira garden. Then, when it was morning, he dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, went into Tulakotita for alms. As he was wandering for alms from house to house in Tulakotita, he came to his own father's house. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Ratthapala's father was sitting in the hall of the central door, having his hair dressed. When he saw the Venerable Ratthapala coming in the distance, he said, "Our only son, dear and beloved, was made to go forth by these bald-headed recluses." Then at his own father's house, the Venerable Ratthapala received neither alms nor a polite refusal. Instead, he received only abuse. Just then, a slave woman belonging to one of his relatives was about to throw away some old porridge. Seeing this, the Venerable Ratthapala said to her, "Sister, if that stuff is to be thrown away, then pour it into my bowl here." While she was doing so, she recognized the characteristic features of his hands, his feet, and his voice. Then she went to his mother and said, "Please know, my lady, that my Lord's son, Ratthapala, has arrived." "Gracious, if what you say is true, you are no longer a slave." Then the Venerable Ratthapala's mother went to his father and said, "Please know, householder, they say that the clansman Ratthapala has arrived." Just then the Venerable Ratthapala was eating the old porridge by the wall of a certain shelter. His father went to him and said, "Ratthapala, my dear, surely there is, and you will be eating old porridge? Is there not your own house to go to?" "How could we have a house, householder, when we have gone forth from the home life into homelessness? We are homeless, householder. We went to your house, but we received neither alms nor a polite refusal there. Instead, we received only abuse. Come, dear Ratthapala, let us go to the house." "Enough, householder, my meal for today is finished." "Then, dear Ratthapala, consent to accept tomorrow's meal." The Venerable Ratthapala consented in silence. Then, knowing that the Venerable Ratthapala had consented, his father went back to his own house, where he had gold coins and bullion made into a large heap and covered it with mats. Then he told the Venerable Ratthapala's former wives, "Come, daughters-in-law, adorn yourselves with ornaments in the way Ratthapala found you most dear and lovable." When night had ended, the Venerable Ratthapala's father had good food of various kinds prepared in his own house and had the time announced to the Venerable Ratthapala. "It is time, dear Ratthapala, the meal is ready." Then, it being morning, the Venerable Ratthapala dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went to his own father's house and sat down on the seat made ready. Then his father had the pile of gold coins and bullion uncovered and said, "Dear Ratthapala, this is your maternal fortune. Your paternal fortune is another, and your ancestral fortune is yet another. Dear Ratthapala, you can enjoy the wealth and make merit. Come then, dear abandon the training and return to the lower life, enjoy the wealth and make merit." Householder, if you would follow my advice, then have this pile of gold coins and bullion loaded on carts and carried away to be dumped midstream in the river Ganges. Why is that? Because, householder, on account of this, there will arise for you sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Then the Venerable Ratthapala's former wives clasped his feet and said to him, "What are they like, my Lord's son, the nymphs for whose sake you lead the holy life?" "We do not lead the holy life for the sake of nymphs, sisters." "Our Lord's son, Ratthapala, calls us sisters," they cried, and right there they fainted. Then the Venerable Ratthapala told his father, "Householder, if there is a meal to be given, then give it. Don't harass us." "Eat then, dear Ratthapala, the meal is ready." Then with his own hands, the Venerable Ratthapala's father served and satisfied him with the various kinds of good food. When the Venerable Ratthapala had eaten and had put his bowl aside, he stood up and uttered these stanzas. "Behold, a puppet here pranked out, a body built up out of sores, sick, an object for concern, where no stability abides. Behold, a figure here pranked out with jewelry and earrings too, a skeleton wrapped up in skin, made attractive by its clothes, its feet adorned with henna dye, and powder smeared upon its face. It may beguile a fool, but not a seeker of the further shore. Its hair is dressed in eightfold plaits, an unguent smeared upon its eyes. It may beguile a fool, but not a seeker of the further shore. A filthy body, well adorned, like a new painted unguent pond. It may beguile a fool, but not a seeker of the further shore. The deer hunter set out the snare, but the deer did not spring the trap. We ate the bait and now depart, leaving the hunters to lament. After the Venerable Ratthapala had stood up and uttered these stanzas, he went to King Koravya's Mingachira garden and sat down at the root of a tree for the day's abiding. Then King Koravya addressed his gamekeeper thus, "Good gamekeeper, tidy up the Mingachira garden so that we may go to the pleasure garden to see a pleasing spot." "Yes, sire," he replied. Now, while he was tidying up the Mingachira garden, the gamekeeper saw the Venerable Ratthapala seated at the root of a tree for the day's abiding. When he saw him, he went to King Koravya and told him, "Sire, the Mingachira garden has been tidied up. The clansman Ratthapala is there, the son of the leading clan in this same Tulakotita, of whom you have always spoken highly. He is seated at the root of a tree for the day's abiding." "Then, good gamekeeper, enough of the pleasure garden for today. Now we shall go to pay respects to that Master Ratthapala." Then, saying, "Give away all the food that has been prepared there." King Koravya had a number of state carriages prepared, and mounting one of them, accompanied by the other carriages, he drove out from Tulakotita with the full pomp of royalty to see the Venerable Ratthapala. He drove thus as far as the road was passable for carriages, and then he dismounted from his carriage and went forward on foot with a following of the most eminent officials to where the Venerable Ratthapala was. He exchanged greetings with the Venerable Ratthapala, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he stood at one side and said, "Here is an elephant rug. Let Master Ratthapala be seated on it." "There is no need, great king. Sit down. I am sitting on my own mat." King Koravya sat down on a seat made ready and said, "Master Ratthapala, there are 4 kinds of loss. Because they have undergone these 4 kinds of loss, some people here shave off their hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. What are the 4? They are loss through aging, loss through sickness, loss of wealth, and loss of relatives." And what is loss through aging? Here, Master Ratthapala, someone is old, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage. He considers thus, "I am old, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage. It is no longer easy for me to acquire unacquired wealth or to augment wealth already acquired. Suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Because he has undergone that loss through aging, he shaves off his hair and beard, puts on the yellow robe, and goes forth from the home life into homelessness. This is called loss through aging. But Master Ratthapala is now still young, a black-haired young man endowed with the blessing of youth, in the prime of life. Master Ratthapala has not undergone any loss through aging. What has he known or seen or heard that he has gone forth from the home life into homelessness? And what is loss through sickness? Here, Master Ratthapala, someone is afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. He considers thus, "I am afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. It is no longer easy for me to acquire unacquired wealth." And so on, and going into homelessness. Because he has undergone that loss through sickness, he goes forth from the home life into homelessness. This is called loss through sickness. But Master Ratthapala now is free from illness and affliction. He possesses a good digestion that is neither too cool nor too warm, but medium. Master Ratthapala has not undergone any loss through sickness. What has he known or seen or heard that he has gone forth from the home life into homelessness? And what is loss of wealth? Here, Master Ratthapala, someone is rich, of great wealth, of great possessions. Gradually his wealth dwindles away. He considers thus: formerly I was rich, of great wealth, of great possessions. Gradually my wealth has dwindled away. It is no longer easy for me to acquire unacquired wealth and go into homelessness. Because he has undergone that loss of wealth, he goes forth from the home life into homelessness. This is called loss of wealth. But Master Ratthapala is the son of the leading clan in this same Tulakotita. Master Ratthapala has not undergone any loss of wealth. What has he known or seen or heard that he has gone forth from the home life into homelessness? And what is loss of relatives? Here, Master Ratthapala, someone has many friends and companions, kinsmen and relatives. Gradually, those relatives of his dwindle away. He considers thus: formerly I had many friends and companions, kinsmen and relatives. Gradually, those relatives of mine have dwindled away. It is no longer easy for me to acquire unacquired wealth, and so on, and into homelessness. Because he has undergone that loss of relatives, he goes forth from the home life into homelessness. This is called loss of relatives. But Master Ratthapala has many friends and companions, kinsmen and relatives in this same Tulakotita. Master Ratthapala has not undergone any loss of relatives. What has he known or seen or heard that he has gone forth from the home life into homelessness? Master Ratthapala, these are the four kinds of loss. Because they have undergone these four kinds of loss, some people here shave off their hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Master Ratthapala has not undergone any of these. What has he known or seen or heard that he has gone forth from the home life into homelessness? Great King, there are four summaries of the Dhamma that have been taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Knowing and seeing and hearing them, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. What are the four? 1. Life in any world is unstable. It is swept away. This is the first summary of the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Knowing and seeing and hearing this, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. 2. Life in any world has no shelter and no protector. This is the second summary of the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees. 3. Life in any world has nothing of its own. One has to leave all and pass on. This is the third summary of the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees. 4. Life in any world is incomplete, insatiable, insatiate, the slave of craving. This is the fourth summary of the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees. Great King, these are the four summaries of the Dhamma that have been taught by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Knowing and seeing and hearing them, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. Master Ratthapala said, life in any world is unstable. It is swept away. How should the meaning of that statement be understood? What do you think, Great King? When you were 20 or 25 years old, were you an expert rider of elephants, an expert horseman, an expert charioteer, an expert archer, an expert swordsman, strong in thighs and arms, sturdy, capable in battle? When I was 20 or 25 years old, Master Ratthapala, I was an expert rider of elephants and so on. Strong in thighs and arms, sturdy, capable in battle. Sometimes I wonder if I had supernormal strength then. I do not see anyone who could equal me in strength. What do you think, great king? Are you now as strong in thighs and arms, as sturdy and as capable in battle? No, Master Ratthapala. Now I am old, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage. My years have turned 80. Sometimes I mean to put my foot here, and I put my foot somewhere else. Great king, it was on account of this that the Blessed One who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened, said, life in any world is unstable. It is swept away. And when I knew and saw and heard this, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. It is wonderful, Master Ratthapala. It is marvelous how well that has been expressed by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Life in any world is unstable. It is swept away. It is indeed so. Master Ratthapala, there exist in this court elephant troops and cavalry and chariot troops and infantry, which will serve to subdue any threats to us. Now, Master Ratthapala said, life in any world has no shelter and no protector. How should the meaning of that statement be understood? What do you think, great king? Do you have any chronic ailment? I have a chronic wind ailment, Master Ratthapala. Sometimes my friends and companions, kinsmen and relatives stand around me thinking, now King Kauravya is about to die. Now King Kauravya is about to die. What do you think, great king? Can you command your friends and companions, your kinsmen and relatives? Come, my good friends and companions, my kinsmen and relatives, all of you present, share this painful feeling so that I may feel less pain. Or do you have to feel that pain yourself alone? I cannot command my friends and companions, my kinsmen and relatives thus, Master Ratthapala. I have to feel that pain alone. Great king, it was on account of this that the Blessed One who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened, said, life in any world has no shelter and no protector. And when I knew and saw and heard this, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. It is wonderful, Master Ratthapala. It is marvelous how well that has been expressed by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Life in any world has no shelter, no protector. It is indeed so. Master Ratthapala, there exist in this court abundant gold coins and bullion stored away in vaults and lofts. Now Master Ratthapala said, life in any world has nothing of its own. One has to leave all and pass on. How should the meaning of that statement be understood? What do you think, great king? You now enjoy yourself provided and endowed with 5 cords of sensual pleasure. But will you be able to have it of the life to come? Let me likewise enjoy myself provided and endowed with these same 5 cords of sensual pleasure. Or will others take over this property, while you will have to pass on according to your actions? I cannot have it thus of the life to come, Master Ratthapala. On the contrary, others will take over this property, while I shall have to pass on according to my actions. Great king, it was on account of this that the Blessed One who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened, said, life in any world has nothing of its own. One has to leave all and pass on. And when I knew and saw and heard this, I went forth from the home life into homelessness. It is wonderful, Master Ratthapala. It is marvelous how well that has been expressed by the Blessed One who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Life in any world has nothing of its own. One has to leave all and pass on. It is indeed so. Now, Master Ratthapala said, life in any world is incomplete, insatiate, the slave of craving. How should the meaning of that statement be understood? What do you think, great king? Do you reign over the rich Kuru country? Yes, Master Ratthapala, I do. What do you think, great king? Suppose a trustworthy and reliable man came to you from the east and said, "Please know, great king, that I have come from the east, and there I saw a large country, powerful and rich, very populous and crowded with people. There are plenty of elephant troops there, plenty of cavalry, chariot troops and infantry. There is plenty of ivory there, and plenty of gold coins and bullion, both unworked and worked, and plenty of women for wives. With your present forces you can conquer it. Conquer it then, great king. What would you do?" "We would conquer it and reign over it, Master Ratthapala." "What do you think, great king?" "Suppose a trustworthy and reliable man came to you from the west, from the north, from the south, from across the sea, and said, 'Please know, great king, that I have come from across there. I saw a large country. Conquer it, great king. What would you do?" "We would conquer it too and reign over it, Master Ratthapala." "Great king, it was on account of this that the Blessed One who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened, said, 'Life in any world is incomplete, insatiate, the slave of craving.' And when I knew and saw and heard this, I went forth from the home life into homelessness." It is wonderful, Master Ratthapala, it is marvelous how well that has been expressed by the Blessed One, who knows and sees, accomplished and fully enlightened. Life in any world is incomplete, insatiate, the slave of craving. It is indeed so. That is what the Venerable Ratthapala said, and having said that, he said further, "I see men wealthy in the world, who yet from ignorance give not their gathered wealth. Greedily they hoard away their riches, longing still for further sensual pleasures." This is all in verse. "A king who has conquered the earth by force and rules over the land the ocean bounds, is yet unsated with the sea's near shore, and hungers for its further shore as well. Most other people too, not just the king, encounter death with craving unabated. With plans still incomplete, they leave the corpse. Desires remain unsated in the world. His relatives lament and rend their hair, crying, 'Ah me, alas, our love is dead.' They bear away the body wrapped in shrouds, to place it on a pyre and burn it there. Clad in a shroud, he leaves his wealth behind. Prodded with stakes, he burns upon the fire. And as he dies, no relatives or friends can offer him shelter and refuge here. While his heirs take over his wealth, this being must pass on according to his actions. And as he dies, nothing can follow him, not child, nor wife, nor wealth, nor royal estate. Longevity is not acquired with wealth, nor can prosperity banish old age. Short is this life, as all the sages say. Eternity it knows not, only change. The rich and poor alike shall feel death's touch. The fool and sage as well shall feel it too. But while the fool lies stricken by his folly, no sage will ever tremble at the touch. Better is wisdom here than any wealth, since by wisdom one gains the final goal. For people through ignorance do evil deeds, while failing to reach the goal from life to life. As one goes to the womb and the next world, renewing the successive round of births, another of little wisdom, trusting him, goes also to the womb and the next world. Just as a robber caught in burglary is made to suffer for his evil deed, so people after death in the next world are made to suffer for their evil deeds. Sensual pleasures, varied, sweet, delightful, in many different ways, disturb the mind. Seeing the danger in these sensual ties, I chose to lead the homeless life, O king. As fruits fall from the tree, so people too, both young and old, fall when this body breaks. Seeing this too, O king, I have gone forth. Better is the recluse's life assured. So I'll leave it there. If anybody has any comments, questions.
This is a question for all the ajahns. Looking back at your decisions to ordain, is there any one or more of those reasons which played a large part in that decision?
Well, it wasn't through loss through aging, loss through sickness. It was much more that seeing the limitation of the world. It was very, very clear to me that this is a, what do you call it, zero-sum game? This is not a winning proposition. Living in the world, so definitely, that was a very clear intention.
Yeah, it was kind of that, as well as that's a classic in the Thai forest tradition, the Ratthapala Sutta.
Yeah,
it's a favorite among the Krupa ajahns. The kind of like not seeing that there's any lasting contentment in the world or happiness. Like my heart, I lost heart in terms of the world, but also kind of fear of the lower realms or fear of the results of bad actions. That was a big part of it for me as well. But I don't know why I believed in lower and higher realms. I did. Still do.
For me, kind of all of the above, but notably, just one of the places I worked, for some reason was really stuck with me as an experience and as an image, which was very motivating. I was working with older people who were, very disabled, both mentally and physically, and seeing side by side people who were very poor and disadvantaged and living, not in poverty, but having grown up without very much money, living in places that weren't, all that wonderful. Sitting right next to somebody else who was wealthy and very successful businessman and family and friends and all that kind of stuff, successful worldly standards, and seeing them both at this stage of life, very physically disabled, very mentally disabled, and seeing, that there's no difference. We're all in that same boat, and it doesn't matter what we've got, what we've achieved, who we've become, what we've acquired, security, all that kind of stuff. It just all becomes pretty meaningless in face of aging, sickness, death. Struck very, very strongly for me.
Was Ratthapala the foremost in anything?
Asbuha, I think. I think he was foremost in Asbuha Kamatana. That would be in the Book of the Ones, I think.
Yeah.
Sutta 1, or Book of the Ones, Sutta 80 or something like that.
He's a very nice Filipino monk named Ratthapala.
Yeah, Ratthapala.
The question, Ajahns, seems like there's definitely some stories of families having really hard time with sons or daughters going forth into the homeless life and struggles with it. I'm wondering if there's any stories in one's own life that you'd feel comfortable with, or other monks, Ajahns, where it's been a really positive result, where family members have really taken on practice or an interest in Dhamma, where it's been a really positive thing for the family members.
I'm sitting right beside me here. And they're Ajahn Naniko's parents are really very plugged in and very supportive.
There was one monk, the monk who was just senior to me, he disrobed after one vasa, but when he disrobed, his mother said it was the first time she'd experienced happiness in 3 years. Obaso.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's sad when you get a son there who wanted to go forth, but his parents, his mother just couldn't deal with it and actually threatened to commit suicide if he did. It was very powerful. His parents are pretty dang.
Oh yeah, they're really solid.
It's kind of along the lines of the, everything being swept away and losing everything through illness and death, and thinking about people also that I know who might be getting dementia and losing certain aspects of their mental faculties. The Buddha was very clear that developing certain aspects of the mind stay with one through the death of the physical body, or at least have karmic results after death. And then it's also very apparent that many aspects of the mind are really just tied up with the body, like the brain, and things like speech and language and memory, that these sort of things disappear at the time of death. But and I guess just if you have any suggestions or thoughts on how one can sort of start to discern the aspects of the mind that are more stable and last through the physical death, and the aspects of the mind that don't.
Well, I think a lot of it's around it's more of kind of a felt sense or an emotional tone. That is how one relates to oneself and the world around in terms of just kindness and kind of a lack of fear. Those are kind of fundamental traits of the mind that are cultivated and developed, and then those are what tend to carry on. Of course, the opposite is true as well. I mean, Ajahn Kurundammo, who has worked with, both physically challenged and mentally challenged, there's probably a whole range of people, and a lot of them, very agitated and miserable. But in terms of what is worth cultivating, and one of the benefits of Dhamma practice is this fundamental sense of trust with the world around, that it is not a fearful place. It's not a place of it's a place of worthy of kindness and compassion, and that's how one ends up relating to the world, even when the faculties of intelligence and articulation are falling away. That fundamental kind of brightness and fundamental well-being is not shaken.
Was that very apparent with Luang Por Cha when he was?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember Luang Por Put, who's a very accomplished meditator and going to, and he sat in meditation with Luang Por Cha to sort of what's his mind up to, and he, after he said, you don't have to worry about Luang Por Cha, you have to worry about yourselves. Luang Por Cha's mind is just incredibly bright and radiant. It's just in all directions. It's not. But that's also when he suggested to me that it would be, because he said, but because of his, say, diminished faculties, it'd be helpful to chant for him, and particularly he likes reflecting on, his temperament likes reflecting on dependent origination. Make sure you chant dependent origination. So we used to go, Wat Nana Chat would go over every one prat. We just pile in a variety of vehicles and go over and chant the prittas, and then we would always include the, which of course are familiar to Luang Por, and then as well as the Vipassana Bhumi, which is a dependent origination is part of that, but it's the articulation of that, the foundations of insight. And we did that for probably 8 or more years, 8, 9 years.
Yeah, that's for anybody who's listened in on the funeral chanting, that's the Pancha Kanda Rupa Kando Vedana Kanda. That's that chant, the Vipassana Bhumi.
What you were saying about the aspect of the mind that's free from fear, it reminded me of, I don't know which Ajahn it was, but they had some run-in with like a bull elephant or something, and they had this fear of dying, and they went to a tree to go climb up the tree. And there was a saying, a Thai saying that came to mind. He said that the saying was something along the lines of, those who are afraid to die many deaths, or those who fear death die many deaths. And then he stopped and he just turned around and faced the bull elephant and just did metta. But just interesting. Are you familiar with that saying or something like that?
Not really. It's not. But it comes to mind as something that is sort of referenced sometimes. I don't know the exact phrasing.
There's something in the Ratthapala Sutta that I'm curious about when Ratthapala's father comes and sees him eating the old porridge, leaning against the shelter wall, and Ratthapala says something along the lines of, we went for alms to your home, but we received nothing but abuse. I always found it interesting that he uses, in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation at least, that he uses the word we instead of I went to your house. He says we went to your house.
Yes,
Is there any significance in that?
Well, I think it's probably I assume an idiom in the in the Pali, where there's a more the use of a non-specific personal pronoun, which Thai is similar as well. You can refer to yourself using a we. English, it comes out a bit as an affectation almost, but in I assume that it's in the Pali, that it's copied in the Thai as well. But that sense of having a more of an impersonal pronoun to use. Right?
Yeah, I wondered if it had anything to do with like his being an arahant, that he was speaking in that kind of impersonal way.
Could be, but it's I think even as a religious seeker, I don't know Pali, and I don't know the the languages of ancient India, but I expect, just by knowing Thai, I expect that there's probably pronouns that are used for religious seekers that tend to create a somewhat different tone of address.
In English, referring to like the royal we.
Yeah, the royal we, and it comes, which is English doesn't really have a strong religious foundation or spiritual foundation.
It's more of an I language. It's more of a me language.
But that's I'd say a guess on my part. I'm assuming that.
Like in Thai, it's like warmer sometimes when somebody who you know well, or a Kruba Ajahn is speaking with their student, and they'll say like we. It's like including them a little bit.
Yeah.
It might be like that with his dad. Like he's like including his dad in kind of it could actually be quite profound in terms of he's like including his dad with him, saying we received only abuse. It's like
like by abusing his son, he was abusing himself.
Because later on in the sutta, when King Karavya is asking him, why did you go forth? He says, that's why I went forth. He doesn't say that's why we went forth. So he doesn't always use we.